always like to give a little bit of a disclaimer, not a disclosure, but the talk this evening is not directed to LGBTQ identifying people. It is in no way meant to change someone's LGBTQ feelings today or to wake up a gay person. And we always want to be very straightforward and direct to let people know what we believe so they never feel manipulated, like they got pulled into a meeting at like Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not that sort of thing. And so our speaker's talk this evening is for the general church to become informed and equipped. And we want to stabilize our community with love based on scriptural truth that Jesus has given us. If you're here and you have LGBTQ feelings or you are LGBTQ identified, you are taking personal responsibility and remaining here, just like everyone else. And the things that you're going to hear today are basic Christianity. The testimonies may surprise you, though. Hearing testimonies in a mixed crowd for someone that's LGBTQ identified or dealing with these feelings and they haven't been surrendered can be a big challenge. And so we want to remind you that what God has done in our life happened over years. If you have any questions regarding anything that was said or any specific word that might have been a little bit difficult, please reach out to us at the ministry. We totally understand. We've been sitting in the chair, and we know what it's like to hear those words, and we would like to be there for you. I want to give a special thanks first to my wife, who, it's obvious, her spiritual and extraordinary character. I want to thank you, Chantel, for being faithful to the Lord, even when I was having issues, and for always stepping out in faith and being courageous. I didn't tell my story. I'll do it really quick. So I was a Methodist preacher's kid that was struggling with same-sex attraction and gender confusion, starting from about 4 years old. And eventually I ended up finding some amazing people and mentors who were there for me, who could speak my language and tell me the fruitfulness of the Lord. But honestly, what they taught me really didn't take any effect. It wasn't until the supernatural of the Lord took the veil, I felt it flip off of my face in December of 2010 when I was finishing up at UF here. And all my thinking came together, and I started to remember all of the things that people had told me that were healthy and true and were from the Word of God. And that was the start of a radical transformation within a few years especially. And my wife can even attest that I'm not the same person I was back then. I want to thank host Big Daddy Guns and their event staff. I'm going to go through these quickly, but just know that these are very important to me. All of our identified monthly partners and donors, you are changing things for the kingdom of God through your sacrifice and your generosity. I want to thank New Hearts Outreach for not only bringing Ken to Gainesville and the media, but also being there for me when I needed it in 2010. I want to thank the Identify board who is here for their service and leadership. The Identify staff and the volunteers, you see all these people with wonderful Identify with Jesus shirts because it is about Jesus. And our mission partner, the North Central Florida Baptist Association, who has linked arms with us and loved us. And our local ministry family, there's a host of family ministries, but even more specifically, Sarah Pregnancy Center and the Jesus Infusion. And these incredible leaders have been there for me and have spoken hope and inspiration. And it has been such an incredible thing to watch them really burn for Jesus. So when your slide comes up, please stand so people can see who you are if you're from this ministry. New Hearts Outreach, Tampa Bay, has been around for more than 20 years and has been doing this ministry there, has done an incredible job. Yes. Sarah Pregnancy Center, Kathy Grotto is also here. My stand. And Sarah has really, Kathy Grotto specifically, has really, the Lord has given her a vision for family, and they have served as a hub to help people get what they are needing and to see our families come together in light of Jesus. And their vision is women and men in crisis embracing life, walking in freedom, and positively impacting their community. And the Jesus Infusion. Yes. So I want to thank them. This is an incredible ministry that exists. I met Nicole at a Christian bookstore, and I was asking her about books on homosexuality, and she just came alive and started talking about what she does. And the Lord reunited us actually through Kathy Grotto, who's not surprising the Lord used her. And so this ministry is extremely important. So Randy, you guys are going into the prison, in the women's prison, and you're ministering all the time. How many thousands?
We average 3,000 a year.
3,000 a year. And they've walked with these women. I've met some of these women around town, and they have helped even women in transition into our local community. It's a beautiful thing. So these are some of our financial goals. Just going pretty quick. But basically, our base expenses for 2021 is $46,000, and our goal for 2022 is $55,000. And you can see that the salary that's up there, that's the combined annual salary for both people. So what are ways to give? So we can basically take your money. All right. We have a square reader, so we can swipe anything. We can't tap anything. Okay, but we can swipe. And we have envelopes if you would like to give an offering. So I'm going to try to fly through this pretty quick. There are 3 mistruths that SSA or LGBTQ identified people believe. And when I say this, some of you might remember back in the day when you thought these things. That God is not good because he is unfair, because you are dealing with something that no one talks about. That God is not all-powerful, because he seems to heal everybody except for LGBTQ. That God is not everywhere, because non-Christians don't have as much fun as the non-Christians do. And when you're dealing with LGBTQ, you see these beautiful people that are rich and intelligent, like Anderson Cooper and Ellen DeGeneres, and you think, that'll be me. If I just go into the lifestyle, it'll be so much easier, and I'll get to wear fancy Banana Republic clothes, and I'll get to have a nice chihuahua, and I will get to have entertaining friends that can cut up at any party, and I'll know famous people, and all these doors will open for me. And so, in the end, you're left with a God that you have judged to a ridiculous amount, and you've created a new one based on your progressing perceptions. And we talk about this with some of our non-gays that have never come out yet, because they don't realize yet that they've created a false Jesus that they're worshiping. And so we deal with these core issues that all Christians deal with, whether you lose a spouse, or there's a divorce, or there's an unborn baby. These are things that we all call into question about who God is. But here's the truth. At Identify Ministries, it's not about navel gazing and figuring out who we are without Jesus. It is about putting our eyes on Jesus. Amen. The entire thing is about finding out who Jesus is and keeping our eyes on him. We want to know, who is this God that has made us? Who is this God that cares so ridiculously about us? He is good. He is all-powerful. He is everywhere. He's even in the gay club. He is eternal. When your foundation is on an eternal God that had no beginning, you never have to worry about your ending. God is relational. He loves us. So I'm going to go quickly through what we do. We have in-home fundraisers. So if you're interested in hosting something like that, we have people testify to your friends in your house about how God changed them. We have a women's group online, and we do basic Christianity. So we go through a book called Learning to Walk in Freedom. I only say that because of all the conversion therapy jokes. I'm like, well, all the straight people are getting conversion therapy then, because they're all reading the Bible. There's 5 steps to learning to walk in freedom. It's like getting to know God.
So true.
These are some of the trainings that we offer. I think there's 12 different ones. I'm going to read them really quick. 4 theological views of LGBTQ. Did you know there were 4 different worldviews? Gender identity formation, 3 group trends and those leaving LGBTQ, transgender issues, shining light on non-gays who never go into the lifestyle, the realities of suicide and how that affiliates with LGBTQ, parents of LGBTQ, the politics of overcoming, effective LGBTQ ministry, listening, prayer trainings. We teach people how to have effective prayer times, and hands-on worship flagging. We have a parents' fellowship once a month where an overcomer shares their testimony, and our parents are able to hear and ask questions to someone who's left the lifestyle about what it was like and how they can be there for their child. And you need to know we are everywhere. We are everywhere.
Amen.
We are in your church. We're just quiet. And I'll tell you the truth, the quietest ones are the most healed. You will never know what God did in their life until the other side. It's the ones that are the most quiet, honestly, I will just say it, that are the most healed. I know them. Because they come up to me and they go, "Me too. My husband doesn't know." But the Lord, it's not about us. He gets to choose how he heals and in what timing, and we stand there ready. We need partners in the calling. Thank you for showing up this evening. I'm going to introduce Pastor Ken. After years of hopelessness and a suicidal struggle with homosexuality, Ken Williams encountered God as a supernatural good father, and that changed everything. Ken is now married to his beautiful wife since 2006, and they have 4 children together. He's a California pastor, an author, an international speaker, and co-founder of Equipped to Love and Changed Movement. This is a ministry to help those equipped to love impacted by LGBTQ. And Changed Movement is basically a lot of people fresh out and some that have been out for a while. Men and women who've left LGBTQ behind because they wanted to.
Amen.
Pastor Ken Williams, come on up.
Well, hi everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. I'm from Northern California. I'm an associate pastor at a church called Bethel Church up in Redding, California. I've been there for 15 years as an associate pastor. And
Do you want a mic or no?
actually, would that be helpful?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm double mic'd. I like attention, so I've got it going right now. I've been doing that for 15 years, pastoring, and I've known Derek. I've just met Mark Culligan recently, but Derek and I have met several years ago, and it is like such an honor to get to come and just support what they're doing and just help fan the flames. And we, to be honest, we just encourage each other. So I could have one of them come and speak at my thing and encourage each other. Mark's here. He's an amazing leader in this as well. So anyway, thank you for having me. He mentioned that Equipped to Love is the ministry that I started with my ministry partner there named Elizabeth Wanning. She came out of lesbianism. We've been doing that for about 6 years or so, and just actually ministering to that topic. And I'll just mention real quickly a couple of resources that might be of help to you. I finally got around to articulating everything that I felt like the Lord did for me in addressing my LGBTQ issues. And I did it, and it's about 50 videos and a very large workbook I finally put together that'll come out in January or February. And it's designed for someone that maybe there isn't a group in town like several in this room lead groups that people can come to, but some people don't live in an area where they can do that, and so it'll be kind of an online thing for people to actually realize, oh, I've got an issue with idolatry or with unforgiveness or soul ties or all these different things, and it kind of walks them through, even leads them through some prayers and things like that. Not quite as, the gold standard would be being in a group with people that you can touch and give you a hug, but hopefully something that is a good addition to that. And then finally wrote a book that I'd been wanting to write for about 20 years earlier this year. And it's just my journey out of LGBT, and then the discipleship model that the Lord used for me, broke that down and to offer it to other people. So that's a little bit about me real quick, but I'm going to tell you I'm just going to take a few minutes and kind of tell you my overcomer testimony. And then the Lord has just done some unusual things with me that I never expected. And the theme for tonight is, standing out for Jesus, right? And so I just want to share with you, because it still shocks me what the Lord chose to do through me, because I believe I'm not special, and that, I believe God has really amazing plans for every one of us, And so anyway, I'm going to tell that part of my story as well, and then invite you to just kind of say, okay, God, maybe you already know what God's inviting you to take a stand for, or maybe he's going to tell you something new tonight, but we'll take a few minutes of prayer and go after that. Sound good? Okay. So, I was you can't tell it now, but I was always the scrawny, skinny kid in every class. You can laugh. You can tell I'm not scrawny anymore. And that's not exactly what you want when you're, a young boy. You really want to be the biggest, toughest, strongest one. And I never was that. And when I was about 8 years old, I was exposed to pornography. My babysitter showed me the centerfold and said, "Doesn't that turn you on?" And I said, "What?" I'm 8. I don't know what you're talking about. All I knew was I failed in the eyes of this 16-year-old, impressive, much more masculine than me male. And I'm like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I don't know what if this is happening for you, but nothing's happening for me. And shortly thereafter, I was playing in a field with another boy or two, and they found this boot box. They opened up the boot box. There's hardcore gay porn in there. Of course, I've never ever known that such a thing existed. Right? Have no clue. This is the 1980s, or this is probably around 1980, and so no one ever had told me, hey, don't view something like this. I'm just, oh my goodness, what is this? And the way that I saw men treating each other was more than sexual. It was degrading, it was humiliating, it was violent, things like that. So I was scarred. As an 8-year-old, and I felt so dirty. And I had just found the Lord personally. I had just gotten saved and was just beginning my walk with the Lord, and bam, I've got to be the most disqualified Christian on the planet, is what it felt like. And nobody was talking about, sexuality even, let alone homosexuality, in my church or in my sphere. And so what do? You just don't say anything. And so really, Brene Brown talks about, you can't numb emotions selectively. You numb one emotion, you numb everything. And so I really numbed myself that day, and so really was not developing emotionally from about 8 years old. I had a lot of catching up to do after that. I was mocked a lot, from probably 8 or 10 years old. I was mocked a lot because, like I said, I didn't really fit in with the other boys. I was more comfortable chatting with the girls. And when you hang out with a certain group day after day after day, you pick up their manner, you maybe pick up their laugh, or things like that. You start to kind of jive with them and reflect kind of some of who they are. You're kind of socialized into your identity, and that was happening for me. I wasn't being socialized into any masculine identity because I had pushed myself. I just had kind of strayed away. Had trouble connecting with my father, who loved me, wonderful man, but we just kind of missed each other. He was interested in outdoor things, and I sneezed outside. So, I was like allergic to the outdoors, and I didn't want to. I wanted to talk deeply. I was called to be a pastor from birth, and it's like I wanted to talk deeply about meaningful things, and the other boys were like, yeah, okay, and they're gonna go kick something, and so, I was just missing all the masculinity in the traditional sense, and there was no alternate plan for masculinity, customized for the more creative, art-loving, music-loving side. No one had a plan for that I could access and say, okay, this is masculinity too. That wasn't around. So by the time I'm also in my somewhere in my teens, let me say this. I can take you from my kindergarten pictures, school pictures, all the way through into college, and I was always fixated on one boy. So whichever male around me seemed to be the most impressive, the smartest, the strongest, the version of masculinity that I didn't seem to be able to be. It was this attractive, wow, look how self-confident he is. Look how everybody laughs when he says his joke. Look, all those things, like, wow, that is shiny over there. I need that. So in a way, another way I see it myself is like, God created me male. I have XY chromosomes, right? That's how we know whether you're male or female. If you have XY chromosomes, you're male. If you have XX, you're female. And I had XY chromosomes, so I'm male. So that means that God somehow has masculine expression for me, a masculine life for me, in whatever form that looks like. But I had pushed mine away. Now, I didn't do that knowingly, but I can look backwards and tell you, oh yeah, I totally pushed that away. I didn't want, that was too much pressure. I'm going to try to be a male, like with the other men, and like, how am I going to stand? Like, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about when it's in the locker room? I don't know what to say in the locker room. I haven't been around for 12 years with the boys, and then I go into the locker room. What am I going to say? So I'm in this codependent thing. It's like the way my heart reached out, trying to solve this inner problem of not feeling like I knew who I was and trying to be complete and whole and all that, carrying around my guilt and shame as well, was I just latch on to this guy, and I would befriend them, and I would emotionally just be drawing from them constantly. And the only time I felt somewhat okay, mostly okay, was if they were right next to me. If they were over there, that wasn't so good. And if I didn't see them for a day or 3 days or whatever it was, it's like, there's a vacancy here. I really don't know who I am or what I'm to be. Do you understand how this is different from the love that a man and a woman have with each other in marriage? That hopefully, if we're healthy, it's like one is giving to the other out of their overflow. We're not trying to find ourselves in the other person. Hopefully we know who we are in God, right? And then we give to each other. That was not my experience. I was looking for me in him. And at some point, a friend made an advance sexually, and I never saw that coming. I was just going to do the emotional thing because it was wrong. I've been raised and believe, and I've read the Bible, and it's like, well, this is a sinful behavior to have sex with another man. And so I wasn't going to do that. I was going to just white knuckle it. When he made this advance, it was just so shocking. And it's like, I think if he had told me in advance what was going to happen, I think I would have resisted. But it happened so fast, and now what I'm experiencing is affirmation. I'm experiencing affirmation of my masculinity without being graphic, of course, right? When someone touches you, there's a statement of, I value you. You're acceptable to me. You have what it takes. You're more than enough. Whatever it is. And it's like, I was so starving for that from another male that it was irresistible. And so the guilt and shame that came with, we're having these interactions, day after day for months, was just immense. And yet I was finally feeling like someone noticed me. I mattered to another man. I there's something good about me that another person would value. And so, thankfully, the Lord brought a family move, separated us, and now I'm free, but I've lost my drug. This is how I feel okay, right? So I was devastated, and I decided I'll just try to stay alive, but I'm feeling very unfulfilled, in life. And And so I finally couldn't do it anymore. Just couldn't do the fake anymore. And so I went to the Christian bookstore to see if I could find any book on addressing homosexuality. This was 1989. There was not a single book in that day on leaving homosexuality. There was a book of everything that a person can struggle with, and it had half a page or so on homosexuality, and it just basically said, hey, if this is you, this is your lot in life, and you'll always struggle. These feelings will never change, but if you see a counselor every week from now on, then you can refrain from acting it out, and that will cost you probably about $250,000. So, at 17 years old and working at Mark's Feed Store barbecue restaurant for $3.35 an hour, that was overwhelming, as you can imagine. I'm like, $250,000 for self-help. This is bad. So, my first moment in life of feeling suicidal actually was walking out of the Christian bookstore. So, obviously they didn't know I'm going to say this, but there's your reason right there to support ministries like, what Derek is doing and Mark and Mark and all the others in the room. Like, the world out there, as you probably know, doesn't know that God can address these issues in power, right? But my experience is that, and that's kind of the rest of the story, he began to, but not yet. So I'm just reading this, and I'm depressed, and like, what am I going to do? So I can't do fake anymore. So I go home. I write out one night. I just wrote out 9 pages of my pain. Just really vomited out all my pain, my anger, my expletives, everything, and handed it to my youth pastor. And he was like, okay, great, because I was the male leader of the youth group for him. That was a bummer for him. And he's like, Ken, you're not gay. And I was like, did you read? Did you see all of those words on those pages? And he's like, well, I don't know, but you're not gay. Like, I understand what you're saying, but he said, we're going to tell your parents. And I was like, no. This is the 80s. We're not telling parents, I don't know. All I know is they said this is wrong, and I've done a few bad things, and I'd really like to still have a place to live, I didn't know what was going to happen. I knew my parents loved me, but there was no test trial for this. And so he said, well, we're telling your parents tonight. He knew my parents. So we met with my parents that night, cried together for 2 hours. Both of my parents were just sobbing. And they were so devastated that I had lived under their roof and had not felt safe to be able to tell them absolutely anything. And every parent in here knows exactly what that feels like. It's like, oh my gosh, I'll help you. Just tell me what's wrong. And so that, they said, well, okay, what do you want? I said, I don't want this, but it won't go away. And they said, we're going to get you to see a counselor. So started seeing a therapist, and that he helped me immensely. Christian counselors are lifesavers.
Yes.
Certainly with an issue like this, because where can you go? Where you know that you're going to have absolute anonymity, right? Confidentiality, and spill everything. And so he kept me alive. And then though, the thing that really started to address my sexual desires was when I had this stomach condition for 5 years, and in college and a little bit beyond. And it was getting worse and worse. I was down to 114 pounds. So just skin and bones. You could see the veins in my face because I was so unhealthy and skinny. And so I'm just miserable with that. And sorry, my thoughts just went away for a second, but it'll come back. I finally, then a friend of mine who I hadn't talked to in years, he just happened to call me, a good Christian guy, and he's like, well, Ken, what's going on? And I was like, oh man, I'm so sick. And he's like, well, Ken, God doesn't want you to be sick. And I was like, well, I've been in church every week for my whole life. I'm about 24, 25 at the time, and I've never heard that before. He was like, well, you've been going to the wrong church. So I was like, well, all right. So he said, well, let me get together and pray with you. And I was like, okay, I'm desperate. I'll take anything, right? And so we get together a few weeks later, and long story short, he lays his hands on my stomach, commands pain to leave me, just praise for the Lord to just heal my body, and fireworks start going off inside. Like my stomach growled for 30 seconds without stopping. So, I mean, have you ever heard that before? I hadn't. It's like, what's happening? Like, is there an alien in there? Like, what's happening? You know, something is going on inside that boy. And kept going, and then I passed gas for 5 hours. Yeah, which, you know, it sounds funny now, but it was intense back then. And, you know, it would happen again, and my mom would say, "Praise you, Lord," like that. And, you know, it's a non-traditional experience. And I mean, I felt the presence of chaos just leave my body. I had never heard of anything like this before, but here it is happening to me. All the pain was gone. My first time in 5 years, I had no pain in this region. And I give God a hand. Incredible. And so I got my life back. I could start to eat all these different foods that I'd been allergic to. It's like, I have a new lease on life. This is incredible. But my biggest takeaway was, oh my gosh, God is good. Like I noticed that was your number one, you know, clarification is it's like, the wrong beliefs that people had is like that God's not good. Yeah, I believed God wasn't good because he hadn't addressed my biggest problem all that time. But now I'm thinking, wait a minute, I must be doing the wrong kind of math because I've just had experience that proves that he's good. Because I got that stomach condition by drinking 5 beers in 20 minutes and passing out in my fraternity. So, I mean, I knew that was sin. I knew that was wrong. Did it anyway. So, you mean God looked over that and healed me anyway? Who is this person? I really want to know better this person. So, I started on this pilgrimage of just finding out how good God was. Like, what will he do for me? And it must be the case that if he says homosexuality is sin, he must have a solution for this. He's not going to say, I'm going to put this desire in him that there is no possible fulfillment for. God's not diabolical. If he gives us a desire for something, there will be a healthy way to experience that fulfillment of that desire. He satisfies our mouth with good things that our youth would be, you know. So I'm like, okay, I've got to, it was obvious. I just am going to come closer and closer to him and find out who he is. And over time, over several more years, and a ministry school for several years, and these amazing men and women that came around me, spiritual moms and dads, you know, men that just started treating me like every other man and just disciple. And it's what Derek said. This is basic discipleship. The average Christian is much more qualified to help with this issue than they ever think. They just need a few of Derek's examples. They need a few of those phrases they can say, you know, and give a certain circumstance that that person will relate to. And so I just keep going with God, and then look, this happened, y'all. That's my wife. I asked her out by text message. She answered back the multiple choice question I was hoping for, and we've been married for 15 years. And yeah, she's amazing. She's my very best friend, and we have had, you know, I mean, obviously, any marriage has its challenges, but like, we have had an easy marriage. It has been wonderful to have a partner that I feel so crazy about, and that gets me, and that actually completes me in a very natural way. You know, like she really does provide, you know, this other half. Like, I'm not looking for her to complete me. I meant what I said earlier. But like, she rounds me out because she's so different from me. You know? I mean, she's a woman. She's quite a bit different. I mean, we're all humans. We have a lot in common. But also, men and women are pretty different in some key areas. And I love that. It's wonderful to have that in my life. She actually knows how people are feeling. I don't know how people are feeling. You know, I'm like a computer. You know, it's like, well, he says he's great. I guess he's great. She's like, no, he's like about to, you know, jump off the deep end. I'm like, he is? You know, all that stuff. So wonderful. And then these are my awesome kids. I helped create those. We had 4 kids in less than 4 years. Don't do that. You young people, do not do that. But I wouldn't trade them. I'm keeping them now. We got past the hard part. 35 diapers a day when the twins were born. 35, that's one every 20 minutes while you're awake. Just kill me now is how it felt like. But anyway. So I'm living a life that, you're not supposed to be able to live. I had major addiction to pornography, addiction to masturbation. The Lord has just removed that from me. I mean, it was years. It was years of a battle, but that is not something I struggle with anymore. It's unfathomable that is as easy for me to avoid as it was. And the objectifying other men, which was an hour by hour experience for me, He's just taken that. It's not. I mean, I have sin areas that I wrestle with, but I have a much harder time being a patient parent, and all of that than I do in the sexual department, which is crazy. So having had all of that, I'm a pastor at Bethel for 10 years, helping in a department, and that was great. But then it's like I started realizing, wow, I've got to give back to this sexual wholeness thing. This is what I really care about, right? It's what God's done in me. And so, I don't know, I lose track. 6 or 7 years ago, I meet up with my friend Elizabeth, and we start talking about what does God say about this? Like, how did the Lord address our brokenness, right? How can we start helping and equipping the church and all these things together? So that became then my full-time job at my church. So she and I now co-lead that Equipped to Love ministry. And we were getting going, and we've been doing it for a couple of years together, and we're starting to teach our ministry school students, and we're starting to equip the different directors. There's about 850 pastors 850 staff at my church. So we have a ministry school and all this, and so there was a lot of equipping that needed to be done because almost no leader knows how to deal with these issues, right? They just need a little coaching. And so we're working on all that, and then blam, from the side, we find out, California is proposing a new bill called AB 2943, and it was going to declare consumer fraud any assertion that a person could leave a gay life behind. Okay, so a conference, anything that you paid money for. So a conference, a book, this book, would be completely illegal in California. Any counseling. Now remember, as a minor, as a 17-year-old, I was suicidal, and when I was able to go see a counselor, I was no longer suicidal, right? So in California, that is a law right now. If you're any minor, it's illegal to get that kind of counseling. But this was going to be for adults. This is going to be for any human being that wanted counseling to leave LGBT. It's going to be completely illegal. Well, so I'm minding my own business. It's like I thought, okay, well, what am I going to do? Am I supposed to do something about this or not? So I went to. They started having the government hearings in the local. So now I'm going to talk about standing out. They started having hearings on the bill, see if it would pass all the way through and become a law. And so I attended one of the hearings, and I'm just sitting in the audience and stuff, and like feeling so strongly about how bad this would be for this to happen, and it would shut down our ministry for all practical purposes. Now, we didn't charge for everything, but if you make it such that if you take all that off the board, you're ripping it from culture. It's going to become, something that's not even known at all that someone could get that help. And so I'm like, God, what am I supposed to do about this? And like, how can I help and all that? I was off at this training. I got invited by my church. Was like, hey, they're going to do some training. Some of y'all will know what that is. It's an advocacy. It's a legal advocacy organization. They fight most of the First Amendment Supreme Court. Like in the Supreme Court, they'll be the ones that will fight the challenges to the First Amendment cases. So freedom of speech, freedom of religion. And I had been invited to go down there for a training, but I didn't really know why. So here I am. I find myself in Phoenix, Arizona down there. I'm in this training. I get this phone call, and this guy says, hey, would you be willing to testify in the next government hearing in the California Capitol on Tuesday? And this is like Saturday. No, probably like Friday. And I'm like, talking about the chicken line. I'm like, it's one thing for me to go after this ministry in my local church, help the people nearby. But I'm going to walk into the California Capitol and say, hey, I think that people should not be gay. That isn't what I was saying. But what I'm saying? I'm going to challenge the LGBTQ ideology standing in the Capitol and it's going to be recorded on record, on video, with my face on it forever, with my name and all that. I'm thinking, I'm smarter than this. This is not smart. But something just kind of rose up out of me and was like, yes. I'm like, you shut up. There was like, you could go back to, and it was such a moment of it was just a weighty moment, right? Because I know that my life is going to change, and I don't know how. I just know it's going to change. And yet there was this knowing. It was this big yes that was just coming through, and it was plenty loud for me to hear, and yet I could have said no. But it felt so right. It was like, oh, maybe I can make a difference. Maybe I can really partner with God. We're co-laborers with God, right? Yeah. We're not just, I don't know why he does that, but we actually are co-laboring with him. Amen. And I was like, maybe this is my moment. I have a lot of pain from all the years, right, that God has redeemed in so many ways. Wouldn't it be awesome if I could take all of that and push it out there to let other people find freedom? Or all of those people that would want to get counseling that may not be able to get it. If I could make a difference for God, wouldn't that be awesome? And so, but I think, well, how am I going to know? I don't know what to say. It's like you have 2 minutes to share your testimony, your whole argument in 2 minutes. And I'm like, I don't know how to craft that. It seems important to say the right stuff. And so I said, I don't know what to do. And they said, well, Ken, aren't you? I was like, yeah. He's like, aren't you in the media training? I was like, I don't even know what that is really. I've just kind of got here. And he's like, that's what this is for, is to teach you how to handle yourself and to get your message across, in a moment like this. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, it's almost like God's real, like he knew and he put me there, I'm at the very best place probably on the planet to train me for how to actually deal in that legislative hearing right then. And so this gentleman right here with his back turned to us, that was Congress. Well, in California, it's called Assembly Person. It's the House of Representatives. Assembly Person, he's a gay identified man, and the head of the LGBT caucus in California. He was the sponsor of that bill. And so here I am a few days later. It's like I had 5 executives attorneys sitting in a conference room with me, helping me craft every word of what my testimony was that I would share. So I had really good help. And so Elizabeth, there's my ministry partner Elizabeth next to me right there. We ended up testifying multiple times in multiple hearings. And, super scary. But what would happen is this boldness would come on, and I didn't even have to worry about what I was going to say, y'all. Because then it's like now news cameras are on me, and, reporters, like journalists and stuff like that, taking statements from me and all these things. And all of it, I'm aware, I could be crucified based on how I say these things. But it's like it was like the Lord, there was such a yes from him that it took away so much. There was still trepidation, but it was like, it felt so good to represent God in a place where he had placed me, that it was like, yes, I'm going to do this. And but I got tired, and so because we were in multiple hearings, I got tired of them looking at me, all those, all these Congress people sitting around me, looking at me like I had 3 heads. So I tell my powerful testimony of what God's done for me, and I talked about God. I gave Jesus credit, but I also realized my audience of people that probably don't know God the way that I do, many of them. So I was trying to use language they could understand, and they would just be like, they had disdain for me, most of them. They're like, you are such a hater. I'm like, how did you not hear what I said? I don't think I am. I'm not trying to change people that are gay. I'm saying don't take away other people's rights that don't feel that represents the real them. Yes. And so I realized we need more testimonies for them to hear, because they think I'm the only one that ever existed, and I must just be making it up. So we phoned 30 of our friends. We know a lot, all of us that are in this, we know a lot of people with testimonies like us. And so phoned them. These people got back to us. In a few days' time, we had collected testimony story, put them into story form, written them up for them, edited them, got photos for them, put it into a book, formatted it, all that, ordered it, got them shipped back, and we went 7 weeks later to the Capitol. We prayed. What day do we go to the Capitol? Well, I mean, we don't. There's no way to know when a bill is going to be heard in the in the committee and all that stuff. We prayed. We were comparing notes with people. And so we planned. What we're going to do is we're going to go and stand on the Capitol steps on this, and we're going to take all 30 of us, and we're going to stand on the Capitol steps, and we're going to declare our testimonies, 5 minutes testimonies, one after another for a couple of hours, and stream it on social media, and we're going to stand our ground for Jesus and for the rights for us to keep freedom in America of conscience, speech, and religion. Yeah. We're going to do that, and we're going to talk about Jesus while we do it. Amen. And so we're going to take all of our books, and we're going to sign the books, and we're going to go in our clump of all of us from senator office to senator office saying, hi, I don't know if you know about AB 2943. This is what it would do. It actually called someone like me a fraud. I've been married to my wife at that point for 12 years. Please say no to this bill. Look, here's my story right here. Would really appreciate your considering this, okay? We did that. Showed up, guess what? Guess when the next major hearing was? June the 12th of that day. Which is also, at that point, the 2-year anniversary of the Orlando Pulse nightclub shooting. And guess who was with us that day? Angel Colon and Luis Ruiz, both survivors of the Pulse nightclub shooting, who Jesus apprehended on the floor of the place and raised them up to be walking for the Lord again. And they're standing there with us, and we're like, what divine timing is this? That we have 2 Pulse nightclub shootings on the anniversary testifying in this government hearing against this bill. So you can see the senator right here holds up, says we did see your book, okay, check, and we had about 500 people stand up and one after another and take the mic and say, I'm Sylvia from Southern California. Please oppose this bill. It takes away rights. One after another, 500 people. It was the longest. It was the most people they'd ever had give support like that for or opposition for a bill. Nevertheless, they passed it right through the committee, went right through, and then it passed another committee like that. And so now it's a done deal. It's going to pass. It has passed. The only thing left is the governor is going to sign it. Now, something I want to point out is and how much time do I have left? I don't want to go too long. 2 minutes?
Yeah, a few minutes.
Okay. The Lord can accomplish so much. In the middle of this, we were questioning, Lord, is this... there we are on the steps. Are we even supposed to be doing this? We never intended to be political. That was never our intention. And we're trying to rescue people, and we're trying to get the gospel preached. But the Lord showed us in the middle of that thing, of that whole effort, He showed us that if we would be faithful and just do what He put in front of us, that we would be more successful at reaching the church even on this issue by standing up in the public sector than we would by trying to go through the church. Amen. And this is what happened, you guys. I mean, because we had news cameras, we had articles being written by Out Magazine and Pink Magazine and the New York Times and the LA Times and and the Citizen Magazine and the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association and then it went on social media viral, all of these video testimonies on the Capitol steps. And so it was amazing that the gospel was going out in a non-traditional way. But we would have never known that, right? We were just trying to obey. I'll share this to you real quick. So this pastor right here with his back to us, he saw all this happening, reached out to us, and we started getting phone calls from senators and everybody, and mega church pastors and stuff, and he's a mega church pastor, and he says, you know what, we got to get a bunch of pastors together with this Evan Lowe, this congressperson, with the sponsor, and we got to talk this through. And because we had done that, because the church honoringly was opposing him without attacking him. We were not saying, you're a bad person, you shouldn't be gay. We were saying, please don't take away our rights. This is our faith expression here. These are our convictions. Because of that, because of the way that not just our team, but the way that these different pastors, that this pastor gathered together, were speaking with him, he was undone. It was as if people were actually living their Christianity out in front of him, which was different than how he had been raised in the church with religion. And he was shocked by that. And so on the very last day, he withdrew. The very last morning, it was going to be signed at 9 a.m. by the governor. He had agreed to it. I got a phone call from my senator friend at the time, and he said, you're not going to believe this, Kent. The bill is dead. He's going to toilet. Unbelievable. And yet, exactly what we've been praying for. I don't know why we were shocked. We should have believed what we were praying. And let me tell you this, if you'll give me one more minute, I will race through this. Okay. What happens is, he became the supervillain because he had the bill in the bag. And what happened, as California goes, so goes the nation, so goes the world. And so he was about to shift all of culture with that bill, and he pulled it at the last minute. So his friends, with his ideology, started turning on him like crazy. So if you knew what I can't share with you what I know, but your jaw would hit the floor if you knew the famous, very, very famous government leaders who were texting him the most horrible things. I mean, I've seen the text message. And mistreating him and all that. So guess what he does? He turns to, now his new friend, my megachurch pastor friend in Southern California, is reaching out to him for pastoral help. Because he's shown him love. I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. So AB 2943 is defeated. As a result, now we have a movement of all these changed movement people that have testimonies that now we're networked. We have about 3,000 people in a closed Facebook group from all around the world. That never would have happened if that bill hadn't been proposed. We have, here's the Facebook group. Look, here's some of these beautiful faces of these people that now we all love and support each other all around the world. Lou Engel, some of you will know him. He ends up with our book, and he's like preaching and doing prayer sessions with it, contending for people to be rescued by Jesus out of a life that they never, intended. I'm getting to speak on stages I never would have been able to find my way onto. I'm chatting with Ted Cruz and asking him for certain things. This is speaking in the U.S. House of Representatives. This is the halls of Congress at the U.S. Capitol. Interviewed by, I forget which one that was, Christian Post, or Charisma, one of those. Here, actually it is CBN. And now we are rallying, and we do this now regularly. We go to multiple states and to the U.S. Congress and different ones every year now, and not only proclaim the gospel, but are fighting for religious freedom, for the gospel to have the space to go forth around the world. And so, we're just having fun. There's my ministry partner, Elizabeth. We end up speaking at Family Research Council. We're networking with Concerned Women for America. This is Ted Cruz's chief legal analyst, and we're giving him our perspective on bills and all of that. Our book gets copied into Mandarin Chinese, and now helping with the effort in Taiwan. Just crazy stuff. We're having international... we're pushing back against the United Nations because we're networked with these people all around the world. This all happened because the Lord just selected a few of us to stand out on this issue. And look at the cascade of the advancement of the kingdom. And so just take 1 minute, and I want you to just ask the Lord, okay, Lord, would you show me what it is that you're inviting me to stand out on? Or to stand in support of someone else that is called to be on the front lines. Lord, we worship you, Jesus. We praise you, Lord, that you are so strategic in your love. You know how to advance your kingdom. You know how to rescue every person that is in pain, every person that doesn't know you. You know how to reach them. But Lord, you love to use your body. You use every one of us in your plans. And I pray, Father, that you would reveal right now, that you'd speak and reveal to each person, what are they being called to stand up on or to stand out on or to support, so that your gospel can go forth with great power. And Lord, as we move on through the evening, and as people, put their heads on the pillow tonight and move through their day tomorrow, I ask, Lord, just for, a clear message to come through that's custom for them. What are they supposed to go after? And that it would be confirmed, Lord, by, their pastors, their friends, the people that speak into their lives, that you would clarify what is it, because every person is significant in the kingdom. We just worship you, Jesus, for who you are and for all that you've done in us. And we just bless you, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you guys so much.